So like,
looking good on the beach.
you too. So like
Yeah.
currently I'm fixing so like I'm working on the Cypress tests. I'm done with them, and like 2 tests are failing, and I can't figure out why. And someone changed the string on the example, on the store example. So like it's trying to find
probably me.
view static public products, and now it's static product listings. Yay.
Man, we're going with this ocean theme. Hi, Adam.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Hey.
Good. How are you, Devin?
I'm pretty good. How's it going?
Good.
How's everyone's Monday so far?
Just got started. Actually, my Tuesday just got started.
My Tuesday got started 3.5 hours ago.
Oh, yeah, time zones, man.
Yeah.
I'm in Thailand.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
I came over here for a month. I was going to be here for a month for a workcation. And then the Corona thing happened. Like halfway through that, like lockdown in the States. And so I was like, okay, I'm staying here.
Sorry, because you're normally based out of California. Right?
Yeah. So this background is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
In Code. I'm not on the beach, but I took the picture.
That's close enough.
Hi, Rudy.
Hello. Hey,
Hey.
how's it going?
It's pretty
Good.
early or late for some of us. However you want to describe that.
Oh wow, you've moved to a tropical paradise
Yeah.
over there. I can see.
Now still in Europe, but like
Still in Europe, tropical Europe.
yeah.
Okay. Let's give a few more minutes for anyone else to join in before we officially start. How are you, Justin?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Great. How are things running on Windows?
Not super actually, but don't worry about it.
Apologies, Justin. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. You're probably sick of hearing from me, Rudy.
No, actually, I'm not. I'm glad you keep bringing stuff up. We haven't had anyone else complain about
Yeah, it's
Windows.
really important.
Because no one else tried it on Windows.
I'm surprised.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised that like all of the I'm surprised that we're using so much tooling that just like has no concern for Windows, right? That like MFS copy and EJS just like are fully comfortable just saying like, no, we don't care about Windows. Like that's how you template file names with EJS, is you use the angle brackets, which just aren't supported by the file system. Like that's just how it works.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't be using it by choice, but I'm enterprise, and so at home I do a lot of stuff on Windows just to make sure I'm in the same environment, you know, same sandbox. But
yeah,
right.
I have to use Windows a lot for hardware development because like a lot of good hardware development software, 3D modeling and PCB design isn't really available for Macs. Yeah.
I have a degree in electrical engineering, but I never use it.
Oh, nice.
Hello.
Are you double E?
Yeah.
Fran, are you electrical engineer?
Not really. So like I'm first year, that's soft, right? First year of university. And I'll go into computer science primarily, but I do a lot of hardware engineering on the side. So mostly electrical engineering. You're frozen.
Okay, cool. My connection is in Thailand. Hi, Robert.
Hello.
Are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I'm feasting on a burrito right now. Just finished working. So I'm gonna spare you
Okay,
guys
that's
the
fine.
camera and you won't see me eating this burrito.
All right, cool. Hi, Dajin. Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, it's Dejin. You can also call me DJ. I'm new. I just figured I'd
Cool.
come listen in. Don't want to
Awesome.
interrupt though.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just shooting the breeze right now, waiting for everybody to kind of join in. I think we could probably go ahead and start now. So, number one, congratulations on. I'm recording this, FYI, and I'll push anyone else to watch later, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alpha release, it went as good as I expected. I mean, starting to see people, you know, like chime in. You've probably seen of like, oh, Blitz is amazing, or like it's super cool. So I think the time that we took to like do research and design is like starting to pay off, because like people are like our, you know, I think it's working. So also I really appreciate all of you stepping up and like helping with issues and PRs and like stuff, because this is kind of getting out of control for me. Like it's more than one person can manage. So I want to start doing is like making official maintainers. So I think there's sort of two containers. The first level is people who are like help triage issues, so make sure like bug reports like have information that it needs, and kind of like that it's clear what's going on, or ask for more information. If it's like a feature request, like there's certain types of features that are and so like issues, etc. I can come in later and just like review it quickly, and I can comment or I need, but and then also pull request reviews, like just a first pass or like a double set of eyes to look at it, even if you don't totally understand what's going on. And then the second level is like somebody who has more ownership over the code and can be more like actually merge PRs and can be more responsible for like making sure that something doesn't break. So like right now, since we don't have any tests, I've been manually checking out every PR and like manually testing it, making sure it works. So that's some pretty important. So I'll definitely, and then like we'll kind of have that official in the README or somewhere, like maintainers. I think of a maintainer role on GitHub that I'll give you. So if you're interested in like either of those, let me know. Like I think like you could be good for like the CLI area, for like the second level. Just kind of have ownership over that and manage PRs if you want. But we can talk more about it later. Rudy, do you have any thoughts on that? You're on mute.
I think it's a great idea if we can somehow distribute that workload, because just trying to stay on top of everything that's happening takes me like at least an hour every day, like just to go through all the emails and just to
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't think it's going to get better.
One thing you might want to do, yeah. The only way it's going to get better is have more help. So I'm currently using the GitHub notifications beta. It's like the new notifications UI. I think anyone can access it, and it's pretty helpful for tracking stuff. Like, so I don't get emails anymore, because the emails, they're just like, it's too much. So you might want to check that out, really.
It's a real shame that they didn't integrate it into the app. So like in the app, you only get notified when you're mentioned, and you can't set it to like notify you whenever something happens. So on mobile, you pretty much have to use emails because like the notification site on mobile is not really that good.
In the actual app?
In the actual GitHub app, you can't do that.
So, okay, I have the app and I can see all of the notifications. I don't get push
Really?
notifications. I don't
Yeah,
have
I
those
don't get
turned on,
push
but I can see
notifications.
all the,
But like you can, oh,
I can see all the notifications.
oh, that was probably, I'm still on the beta. So like, that's probably a bug.
Oh yeah,
At some point.
it's released now,
Yeah.
official release.
I think they stopped updating the beta channel once it.
Yeah, probably.
once it,
That's probably what happened here.
Yeah, I have a friend who works actually on their mobile team, and I vaguely remember them talking about that they were just going to fully cut off the beta channel.
Okay,
Cool.
Thanks.
So the next thing is automation. So we can automation. I want to set up as much automation as we can to help. So I think, Fran, are you still wanting to work on that?
Yeah, I looked into that. There's like a library already built for that. That seems to have pretty much everything we need.
Burbot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the link.
So just for everyone else, if the automation we want to do is automating like labels versus the location on the GitHub project board.
Yeah.
And so like we have a triage thing, and then we have like ready to assign, ready to review. And so add some automation around, makes it easier to track everything.
Yeah. So I'm currently
adding contributors to the all contributors thing. Right now.
Yeah, we should also add that. That wasn't in the issue, but yeah, that seems like
there's another issue for it.
Oh, okay.
Which it's kind of should be in the same issue probably, but
yeah. As of 5 minutes ago, I'm done with the end-to-end testing for the example app. The PR is up. You guys can review it later. So I'll start working on this tomorrow morning, which is like 3 hours.
Awesome.
Yay. No sleep.
You should get some more sleep.
Yeah, I will after this.
Okay. Anyone else have a comment on automation before we move forward?
I mean, automation is also a little bit about that review process as well in terms of, so I'm just wondering also like Fran, like that end-to-end stuff that you've done, is that for like within Blitz apps themselves, or is this like when we have a PR, it's going to run that automation?
It's only inside of a Blitz app. So like it's in the example store for now. And
but it will run during our CI.
So run in our CI?
No. Because we're gonna add that to the CI. I first wanted to like check if this is the we have all the tests required for the like example app, and then we're gonna add it to the template and to the CI. So we run it every time.
Well, now that we're on SQLite, and once we get model generation working, we could like as part of our CI suite fully scaffold an app and then like run a CI suite to make sure that like end to end it's working properly. That's just like that we need the actual model generation and migration to be more reliable, but then we should be able to do that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So currently the example apps are in the Yarn workspace. And so any test in the actual example app, we can run whenever you run Yarn tests at the root of the project, it'll run the test in the example.
We can just add it,
And so that's what we'll send it in Cypress text.
We just have to configure it with GitHub because like it uses Cypress, which downloads first like 300 megabytes Chrome headless browser. So like we need to cache that and use another. There is a GitHub action workflow already built for that. Just like not to run it, just not do like normal Yarn because it's gonna take a really long time.
Maybe caching dependencies, but we need to check.
Does anyone know, just while everyone's here, does anyone know if it's possible? if it's possible to actually just like run CLI commands within a Cypress test, or do you have to? Because I guess Cypress is running in the browser, isn't it? So we'd have to set up some sort of system to do that.
There's
Yeah,
there's
so-
an exec command. Yeah, it's called exec.
Yeah.
Exec you can call.
Okay.
So we can do that before the whole suite to like clean the database and add some seeds.
Yep.
For this, so I'm gonna add 2 examples. So like one is gonna be adding manually new stuff. So like through the UI, you click and then you add stuff. So like testing the actual new feature, and then using that same data for the edit feature, where you go and edit that thing you made in the test, in the previous test. And then if one test fails, all of them fail. So yeah, we need to work on that to add but we first need to figure out how we're going to handle seeds in the whole app.
Redwood is already doing this, which I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a node script that has like the database imported.
So are we going to handle it in one file or in multiple files?
We should support one file, but also support separating it out into multiple files. So like if we just import seed.js, or if we import from seed, or let's say
From seed, from the
seed.
index. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
get what
then
you're
it can
saying.
be the
Yeah.
file or an
Yeah,
index.
it could be a folder, and then an index would export the main seeder. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so while we're talking about tests, like that was another thing I wanted to talk about, is that tests are like one of the most important things we really need to focus on right now. Because the more tests we have in place, then the more we can spread out the maintainer stuff and merging PRs without like less manual verification. And so I don't have too much to say on that, but if you want something to work on, that would be very, very valuable to work on.
Yeah, it's on my list this week to build some kind of acceptance test framework for the CLI generators, which is really the only part of it that doesn't have acceptance tests. And that's one of the biggest things that'll kind of let us move towards something more automated, because it's using the workspace. That'll also test the latest server and the latest Blitz core as well, because everything's using the same local versions. And so we had a contributor today actually who put up a PR about something to do with CLI generation that added some acceptance tests. So I'm going to take a look at that, but that should hopefully give us a good starting point, and we should be able to kind of build something out that'll automate and test the whole pipeline end to end from the CLI's perspective, which should be a good, at least smoke test that everything's working as expected.
Yep. We should test the generated files, like do the file system snapshot, like we're doing in the server right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So one other thing I'm going to be kind of focusing on is trying to make the onboarding process for new contributors as easy as possible. So I'm going to like be adding some documentation. I want to add like README files throughout the app, like different folders, have a README file that kind of explains what's happening at that level. And then also like creating videos that people can watch about like this is how this is working. And I probably won't create many of those videos myself. I would like help with that. But I think there's at least one person has already said like, hey, I can help with this. So I'm thinking I'll do like maybe a couple weekly live like contributor onboarding calls, just to kind of walk through like the framework and how it works and stuff. And then maybe somebody after that can like watch those and then take the kind of what I cover and turn it into videos. So, and then also
that's
just
a great idea.
Yeah.
Good. onboarding new people is really important to me. And then also being friendly for people who have never contributed to open source before, like making it easy for them to, get onboarded, because it's, it's a lot of stuff for somebody who's never done it before. There's a Kent C. Dodds course that's good for like the basics, but there's a lot we can do too. So definitely try to be as helpful as possible.
I'm happy to help explore like some documentation ways to help with that. I have experience and support in writing documentation, so and like teaching people how to use software. So
yep, that'd be great. Yeah. Okay, that's all on that. So the next thing I think is to talk about the website, unless anyone wants to talk about stuff we were just talking about. Robert, you want to give us an update on the website? And
sure. So we met, I think it was like 3 or 4 of us a week or so ago, to just kind of go over some initial work we could do on this site to get some gears turning. Obviously there's still a ton. Christina's going to start working on the design for it soon. And so we kind of, on the call, we kind of wanted to see if we could get something up and going for the alpha release, but that didn't happen. I think we almost hit everything we had in the milestone. I don't think everything's like merged yet.
It probably could have got it if we wanted to, but I just didn't want to worry about it.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know when you might want to do like a beta release. That might be like way down the line if we want to line something up with that as well. But it sounds like maybe just going with some initial documentation and a pretty bare bones like landing page for the time being could work.
Yeah, I think we should just get something out there. Basically what we have now, I'm just a little more like polished, and I can, like, whenever you think it's like somewhat ready, I'll probably come in and like edit some of the copy and then on the landing page and stuff. One other thing that I think needs to be improved from right now is the design of the documentation. Like the text is like very long, the lines are, and so we need to like shorten the maximum line length and like just maybe add some more spacing or something there just to make it a little more readable. It doesn't have to like look like a designer made it, but and then we can add a bar across the top, like a orange bar or something that says like "Excuse the mess, website design and build in progress" or something.
Yeah.
Brandon, I know we talked about I also have some copy editing experience, so I'm happy to take on a bit of that editing load. If you want to focus more on some of the code stuff, I can take that on. But I definitely agree it's worth getting anything out there, even if it's not very polished and it's as alpha as the software is. Like it's hard to use software that has no docs, and that's kind of what we're asking people to do right now.
So I can tell you what we came up with as far as an initial. Imagine in the so-called world where we did launch the site with the alpha release, the plan was to just have the Blitz branding at the top, like as a hero section with some copy, and then like 2 CTA buttons. I can't remember what they were, like get started and probably like learn more or something. And then we thought maybe throwing either like your alpha video up on there, Brandon, or I don't know if we want to make something a little more polished before then. And that was it. And then just making sure we had some good initial documentation, which is happening. We're getting there, I think. So that was kind of the plan. That was like the cut and dry, and update the branding across the site and just clean up a couple of things. So, I don't think that would take more than a week to get there. I think we were pretty close for Sunday, but there's a few things that didn't get discussed and decisions that need to get made as far as I don't know, I'm sure you've seen it, Brandon, but stuff like design, some like asset questions and kind of some architectural questions, which I think we kind of are close to ironing out. So I think it would be safe to say, like in a week or two, we could have a bare bones site up, make it easy for people to land on.
That sounds great. One thing that will need to happen like right before that is to update all of the documents from the latest in the repo. So like the user guide has changed from what's in the website repo. So I think it's mainly just copy and paste at this point, mostly. But yeah.
Okay, I'll add that as an issue.
But yeah, make sure that's like the last thing, because we're going to keep updating those docs if needed in the repo until the website is live.
Yeah, I'll tie it to like a milestone, I think, in ZenHub.
Yeah.
See if that works.
And then we'll, and then we will. And by the way, we're moving away from ZenHub, so.
All right.
There are milestones in GitHub, so like you can do that.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, sure.
Are we just going to use GitHub projects or something else? Okay.
Yes. Oh, I made it at this point, like it doesn't have the CLI generator or some stuff. So let's just drop that for now. I think we will have a video there. Like someone soon, I have a friend that is working on like creating some videos, I think, or will be soon. And we might can use one of those. Or somebody can create one that's good at making videos.
Maybe Kenzie Dodd.
Yeah, I would love to have like an egghead instructor that's like already set up with egghead, can like just add a bunch of Blitz videos to egghead.
I was considering doing that because I am an egghead instructor, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't want to say it yet. I didn't want to put myself on the line for it yet. Yeah.
No, yeah, that would be incredible. Like if you wanna do that. Like I hate making videos, so.
Yeah, I think Fran, you're the one writing like the example app, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, so I
could
could definitely take that and break it down into videos eventually and put
we could. Actually, someone else is writing the voting app. I saw that in some docs. I don't know who was doing that. Someone was writing a voting app.
A tutorial.
Yeah, a tutorial.
On our drafts repo, there's a tutorial. So that is, I think, is mostly done. I need to review it. But yeah, that could.
I think that would be a better example for the actual tutorial, because like the store example is pretty much an example. So like with Blitz, you can do this, and this, but that's not really a tutorial. The tutorial would be more of like to cover one of those paths. So like here we're covering everything, SSR, static, client side. So like here we're just showing what we can do. And that tutorial app is like pretty much, okay, so like let's first create a database, then let's create this, so on, play in the CLI, so on and so forth. Right. So like that would be a lot better option. So like much better option for the actual tutorial.
Yeah, I can find that and dig into it a little bit.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so like, I think, I mean, there's user, like, videos for people who are using Blitz, and then there's videos for people who are contributing to Blitz, and it would be nice to have like both. I don't know, unless Egghead isn't like really into project specific contributing videos.
I think I wonder if Brandon, along with your your idea that kind of we're going to start to add more maintainers that own specific parts of the monorepo, I wonder if it's worth an owner of each subset, each sub package, doing some kind of screencast or something that's a walkthrough of whether it's live coding or just a walkthrough of file structure of like, here's the architecture that we've built out for this package. that we can link in the contributor guide of like, hey, if you're interested in contributing to the CLI, here's the architecture that Adam's built out for all the generators, and then we have like a resource from the person who's built it.
Yes, exactly. That's all I have on the website. Does anyone else have anything on the website?
Okay, I'm good. I think we covered most of the stuff I needed to go over. I did just think of one thing. Sorry, Brandon. The translation stuff. I'll say I'm not super comfortable taking the lead on that because it seems like React Docs came up with a pretty complex solution. I think you're right that it's probably the correct solution, but I personally have no idea about how to go about implementing it. So if someone, whether on that.
Okay.
I can help. So
I could reach out to the
translations. If we're gonna,
okay.
if we're not
so
gonna use...
what Robert is talking about how we are doing the setting up
with multiple repos.
Sorry, I had internet connection.
Yeah.
So each translation will have its own repo, and then changes to the English repo will be copied by a bot over to all the other repos, and then the translators will translate that like in a PR or something, and then merge it in and deploy it. So I can reach out to the person who actually did the React.js docs, see if they're interested, possibly, or at least some guidance or something.
Cool. Yeah. I was also thinking, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking it would be good, we're talking about docs and intro videos, but just to make something like that for how to contribute translations as well will be a good line item to make sure we try and complete.
I'm super excited about these translations, by the way. Like, we already have so many people signed up, and like, if we get this is going to be like huge for Blitz, because like translations are, it's going to reach so many more people.
And it seems like a lot of people want to help in that area too, which is great.
Yeah.
It's like a pretty low friction contribution avenue to be able to, not have to understand the structure of the monorepo, but still be able to, make some contributions with a basic technical understanding of how the product works.
Yeah. Okay. So authentication is my top focus now. I haven't been able to focus on it because I'm too busy maintaining the issues and PRs. So I need to get more help there, and then I can focus more on like the more important stuff. I think it's mainly on my plate at this point. I need to post the kind of update that session management RFC that Rishab has created, push that to the main repo, and then like write up my thoughts and plans on how we're going to do like username password authentication. So I don't think there's too much to talk about that there, but that is one of my top priorities. And so let's talk about the installers and then possibly plugins too. I see like two things here. So I'll start with plugins. So plugins, the biggest example we have right now is a plugin for Prisma. So because we're database agnostic, right now, like we have Prisma integrated directly into our code. So we should abstract this out into a plugin. And so the Prisma plugin would add the DB command to the CLI. it would like hook in a generator somehow, the templates, because that's DB specific. And let's see what else. That's the two main things for. Oh, it hook into lifecycle hooks too. So like Blitz start automatically client generation, and so we need cycle hooks there that plugins can hook into.
Also for testing.
So plugins are things that are like.
Yeah.
Yes.
In that case, it would be a good idea to abstract a large portion of that in seeds and in Blitz controllers to like maybe figure out how we could abstract that to have one interface and not have a custom interface for each of them, because like Prisma and Typeform, for example, are two completely different things, and we can't really subtract them in the same thing. Also, like someone was mentioning Next in the issue, and that's a query builder which would work completely the opposite way. So like, yeah, those three things can't really work well together without having a compatibility layer in between, and that seems like a lot of work for now. That maybe we should. What?
Oh, I was gonna say I'm pretty hesitant from the CLI perspective, at least from tackling at least in terms of the database tackling plugins and installers right now. I think like we don't have enough of the database code in place to really know what abstractions or what hooks we need there. Like we don't have model generation in place. We have no concept of controllers yet. We have no concept of like application logic models, right? We have like models in Prisma, but we don't have TypeScript models. I think like we need to flesh a lot more of that out before we can actually figure out what hooks we need to provide to plugins. So I feel like talking about plugins in the context of databases, at least, I think is like a bit too far down the road right now. I wonder if we talk about this more from like a philosophical perspective and less about like concrete examples. Because I think databases specifically is something that we don't know enough about what we're going to need from the database.
The problem is that we need a abstraction layer between that will be the same. So like we need the same interface for all of them, and we don't really know how we're going to handle that for now. So my idea is that we should stick with Prisma for now, and then model our actual model layer after something we build with Prisma, and then other database solutions, let's call them, could just hook into that. But for now, I think it's the best idea is to keep Prisma and just go with it, even if they fuck up another beta.
I agree. I agree that plugins are like still a bit too early, but like this is my kind of my vision for it. And I think there's two ways we could approach the like abstraction. One is that we have like a database plugin that has like its own unique abstractions around everything. I think that's kind of what you're talking about, Fran. Or the other way is it's more like we don't really have a database abstract. Like it's more like so in the past, there'd be a lot more duplication between like the Prisma plugin and the next plugin. TypeORM or something, like it would be a lot more like, so the templates, we could abstract something out to the templates, like the queries and mutations, to have like to make it easy to build plugins, or we can just like push all of that to the plugin and say the plugin has to do it all. So that's something to think about later.
Yeah, that seems like the only viable and like easy to implement option is to just have the plugin do everything. Because otherwise in the application code, it would be super easy. You just import something else. You don't import Prisma, you import something else. That's just fine. But the problem is with the CLI and lifecycle hooks, because we should actually, in this case, we can't really abstract it to that level and have everything just work, because we're going to have to rework everything completely, because like, for example, if we go with Next, we can't even have migrations because Next doesn't support pre-built migrations.
Right.
You need to write something
So
yourself.
in that case, they would own the whole DB like command.
Yeah, we could maybe abstract that into two things. So like to have migrations and the querying part separated, so that we could use Photon from Prisma as like a default example, and the Prisma client as the querying part. So we could separate Prisma into two things and then mix and match with others. But for example, if you want to do Sequelize or Typeform, they already have built-in migrations, so we should use that. And because they can do a lot of introspecting and generating, automatically generating a lot of migrations in Prisma. So we should also take advantage of that and not to have to build our own.
One thing we could do now would be to just create a Blitz.js like Prisma package and just move all that stuff over there and then import it. And then we can sort of get an idea of what the shape might be of that sort of plugin.
Yeah, I think that's a good start, is like at least get an idea of the problem space. In terms of like, I think code gen is like the least interesting part of this problem, right? Like I kind of outlined this in the issue for ejection earlier today for being able to eject templates, that like we can, right, it's like pretty trivial inside of the generation to be able to just like look for templates in an arbitrary place, especially now that we're using our own templating language, right? We're not based off of EJS anymore. That PR is open and is ready to be merged. We're not based off of any external, so we can define templates wherever we want. And so like the code gen is the least interesting part, because we can just let any plugin define its own template directory, and we can, you know, come up with a way to register that template directory, and we can just scan that directory for templates during code gen. And so I think that's like, I think code gen's the less interesting part. I think the more interesting part is things like, kind of like Fran was alluding to, of like the actual ORM piece and the actual like, how do we like run database migrations and things. And I think for the answer for that is like kind of where we started this, is like, we just don't know yet. I think to an extent we might benefit here from being a little bit more opinionated. Like the more flexible we are here, and the more we say just like, you can plug in any database behind it, is gonna, I think I think that's kind of a zero-sum game. And the more flexible we are, the less powerful we enable Blitz to be, because we're going to move a lot of the overhead of like the complexity that we'd be writing onto plugin authors, which I think is like, I think that might be too much overhead for people to actually write plugins. And so I think like, I don't know that we need to be opinionated like literally in terms of the library, but maybe like your thing has to support migrations and you have to supply a hook for migrations, and your thing has to like, and at least being opinionated from that API perspective, rather than just saying
we can't, I think we shouldn't be quite that opinionated on like, you have to have migrations, because NoSQL doesn't have migrations.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and maybe that's like maybe that's too opinionated, but I think like being opinionated in some respects and saying like, we're going to put some guardrails in place for what your plugin has to be able to do, I think is going to benefit us a lot.
So ideally we can have like some like opinions, and we have like really nice tooling if you stick within these opinions.
Sure.
If you go outside that, then it's going to require a lot more work, but you can still totally do it. And if people really want that, like there's going to be people that put in the work to make that happen. So. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, that's how, like, you know, if we're taking inspiration from Rails, that's how Rails functions as well, right? Like if you're going to use active record or some active record like thing, like it you know, just works, and you can just kind of plug it in and go. And if you want a custom database layer, like you can do it. You're just going to have to put in a lot more effort to make it. And like there are Rails database frameworks that are not active record and do work. Yeah. It's just like it's a lot more overhead to get it set up. And like if you want to go down that path, you're more than welcome.
It seems to me like the core thing that Blitz sort of contributes, though, is more of the RPC layer and how the server and the client kind of talk to each other. So the database side of things, in my opinion, sort of seems to be a sort of secondary thing at the moment. I mean, maybe it's not always going to be like that, but it just sort of so yeah, being able to
it's
sort
mainly
of
code
have
generation.
your own opinion there makes sense.
Code generation and CLI is like the main thing for the database stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that stuff's going to be like pretty easy to throw together. I don't think there's anything like incredibly novel that we have to do to get that working. So I think like right, if we're thinking like the core of database is just code gen and CLI hooks, like the the PR that I have up for the refactorings to the generators, like that will pretty much support that out of the box. So I don't think we have to like do too much heavy lifting there.
Right. Okay, so let's move on to installers. So installers are, to me, the installers are a replacement for example apps. So like Next.js has hundreds probably of example apps. And like anytime you want to use something, you're always going searching through the repo, finding the right example, copying, pasting the code, and then recopying and pasting the code because you forgot something the first time. And so I just want to turn that into a command. So they have a command that you in their examples. But I want to take that a step further and have an install command that allows you to install whatever is specific to that example into your project. So you start a project, you're working on it for a week, and you're like, oh, I need that thing. And so you just run Blitz install, and bam, there you go. And you might need to customize it. Like it's not gonna, especially if you've already written code in there, you might have some merge conflicts or something, but that's fine. Like you're gonna have that even if you're copy and pasting. So it's mainly like setup, like, you know, so it's not, yeah, so that's my distinction between those two. Is that clear to everyone? Rudy, you had like, I know you had some questions on the differences.
Look, I think it's maybe it's sort of just a mood opinion. I think my preference is like I really like Next.js examples because I can look at them, I understand exactly what things are doing. With installers, it's a bit of a black box. You know, I might have these merge conflicts, but I don't really know what it's doing. Because the other thing that's really good about the examples thing in Next is that, you know, they're all really simple. They've been boiled down to their, you know, the smallest amount of information you need to understand how to do a certain thing, and I just find it more flexible.
I wonder if we during the install process can like because I agree. I think like that's one of my favorite things about Next examples is that you get like a very clear picture of like here's exactly what each line of code in this, you know, an installer does. If installers are, you know, I think like, you know, Blitz is obviously CLI centric. If we add CLI hooks and it's like, and like each installer is actually a wizard where like you get walked through the code bit by bit of like, all right, we're going to add this line, you know, for Tailwind. We're going to add this line to your, you know, layout.tsx file where we import the CSS file for your app. Like, here's why we're doing that. And you know, we can provide a schema where you supply an array of transformations that each get documentation, and then we can print out those docs to the console and say like, hey, we're adding this file for this purpose. Would you like to commit this change? And then like, we already have a conflict checker that handles all of that for us. You know, there's like very natural hook to kind of enable this whole process.
Rudy, you have something to say?
I think that sounds awesome. That sounds really cool to me.
Yeah,
it just sounds like a lot of work.
It does sound really amazing. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we need some kind of schema to like point at like, I know, yeah. I can do some thinking on like what that schema looks like. We need some schema to define
those steps.
You know, right. But like here's the file to look for. Here's how to define where in your file the code goes. Here's how to you know, handle conflicts if your line of code can't go where you want to put your line of code. But I think like at least like from a technical perspective, it's definitely possible. It's just like what the API we give installer authors is. But I think it's like, yeah, I think from like a technical perspective, it's definitely feasible.
So this, what we're talking about here is similar to how the Prisma migration works, I think. It like shows you a diff of like, hey, here's what's changing.
Yeah, exactly.
Similar to Rails upgrade.
Yep.
When you run Rails
Yeah,
upgrade, it guides you
awesome.
through the files.
Yeah, all very similar. The new generator, like I said, like the new generator architecture, which kind of like centralizes a lot of the logic in the abstract class, really enables a lot of this because it gives us natural hooks to put all of these things. We didn't have any place to put these things before because each class was implementing its own code gen. Now that code gen is centralized, like we have a central place to do these transformations, and if we need to add like installer specific hooks, that's very easy to do now, which like it just wasn't an option before. So I think like, yeah, I think this is like super feasible to do and kind of like walk the user through installing Tailwind rather than just like we dumped some code into your project.
Yeah, that's really good. So I am speaking at React Europe conference remotely in 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks, I guess. And I would really like to have installers in at least one for that demo, so I can be like, see how easy this is.
What's the date on that?
So it is May 14 and 15. And then I might record my talk ahead of time. So like basically we have 2 weeks. And this is probably more important than authentication because this has a more wow factor.
Yeah, I don't think it's at all like out of the question to have it ready in 2 weeks. I can
Yeah, I think so too.
I commented on a bunch of other CLI stuff today that I think is like also pretty high priority. I think like ejection and custom templates is going to be crucial. I think we need to really shore up model generation. So like if I can kind of try and source contributors that are willing to look at that stuff, but then if we like really model generation is I think the biggest thing we're missing. But if we can find someone else to try and take a stab at cleaning up the model generation code that's in there, then I think I should be able to hop on the installer stuff and see what I can do there.
That'd be great. One other thing I was thinking, I think it's a good idea to have some standard schema where that makes it easier to write plugins, like this file needs to change, add this here, etc. We should also just make sure to have like a way to include a custom script where they can just do anything they want.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have like a post install hook already, again, like in this new architecture, so we can just expose that and just like, hey, if our generator didn't do all the things you need, just like execute a script here and do whatever you want.
Yeah. Okay, that's exciting. Okay, I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about. So floor is open for anything else.
There was the extraction of moving stuff out of the CLI package. Yeah, Adam, do you have anything to say about that?
No, I think it's a reasonable idea. I think I think you're right that like the generator code is logically separate from the rest of the CLI, and I think like putting those in its own package will kind of let us divorce those two architectures a little bit. And yeah, I like the core like new and generate command are both really completely independent of the generator architecture itself. So I'd be happy to pull those out into a separate package and give us kind of a little bit more of logical separation there, because the CLI I imagine is only going to continue to grow. And so if we can kind of create some more space for CLI specific architecture and allowing those two to evolve separately, I think that's a net win for the repo.
Okay. I think that's a little bit lower priority than like getting the actual installers to work, but if like that helps to do that, then that's fine.
I think we're going to need to split out some API boundaries anyway, because I think we're going to need I think like the biggest thing for installer is going to be like a Blitz /installer package that like exposes some TypeScript types and some basic API constructs for developers to import. And so we'll kind of naturally need to be creating these API boundaries anyway. And so I think it'll kind of happen naturally as a part of the installer project.
Yeah, sounds good.
But yeah, and other than that, I didn't have any other thoughts on that, Rudy. I think it makes perfect sense to kind of split out some of these packages. Like we have the Yarn workspace. We have the ability to work in this like very disparate, multi-package setup, and I think there's no real reason not to take advantage of that.
Agreed.
One thing we're working on at the moment, the PR4, is moving out shared utilities. I haven't got back. So I suggested that we I got a few things. I suggested we rename core to Blitz client so that there's a client package and a server package for like the actual server client code to make sure there's that distinction there. And then I think we should have a server utils and a client utils package. And so we have that same distinction there. Do you have any thoughts around that?
I think client is a little bit of a it's got a few too many meanings, and also server as well. I think maybe the server actual server package at the moment is maybe a little misnamed. I'm not sure. Like I think that there's a whole. We should really look at all of the names at once maybe and just get some sort of cohesion on that and just sort of get some more input on it, because I think it can get confusing.
Do you want to open an issue for that?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
We have a place to kind of discuss it. Like, yeah. Justin, do you have anything to talk about Windows stuff? Like, I'm not sure where the state of Windows is and like what is broken and what.
Somebody logged an issue like 9 hours ago, I think, that Blitz is crashing after following the initial build instructions. And I just confirmed that while we were on this call, and I'm kind of looking into it a little bit. I'm not sure what's going on.
Is that the one where it says can't find pages directory?
The error that the person reported says that it can't resolve child process in Node Module's Prisma client runtime, but that's not the error that I'm getting locally. I'm getting a totally different error, so not sure yet. But the demo definitely does not work.
I was wondering, maybe.
Oh, go ahead, Rudy.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just wondering, I had the idea this morning, maybe what we should do is we should run our unit tests on Windows as well as Linux.
Yes. Yeah. I have an open issue for that to set up Windows CI.
And the tests currently, I know we've talked about needing more tests. The tests currently do not catch whatever this is because the test passed just fine. So this is something else, but yeah, we definitely should do that.
I imagine Fran's end-to-end tests that run against the example project would catch it once we like.
Yeah, I think
that like generates a new
would catch it.
Yeah.
Is this something that we think actually lives in the Blitz code, or is this something we think we're going to have to talk to the Prisma people about? Do we have any idea yet, Justin?
I'm not sure. Not sure. Next. Yeah. I think
I had seen an error. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brandon. I was just going to say, I think it's bombing on the dynamic routing with the bracket ID bracket, but that works just fine in Next. So I don't know why it'd be any different here. Not sure yet. Still debugging.
Yeah, the only problem.
The last time I tried on.
Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
The last time I tried on Windows, I had an error about Next find pages directory was failing, but maybe that was a bug that's been fixed, like in the latest canary or something. And I don't know. But we might have some resolution issues, because how we're compiling our code into a different directory, and then but node module stays up at the main directory. So that's something to be aware of, is that there's possibility for something on Windows, like how the module resolution is working, might fail. Yeah, because what I observed was on Mac you can run, I think you can run yarn next and then pass in the path like .blitz caches dev, like the path to our compiled project, and it would run. But on Windows that same command would not run. So it was something inside next was not, like, it was working differently on Windows. But it's possible nobody's saying that they saw the same error, so maybe that's resolved. But
Windows is the worst.
Another way I've been testing it is to pull that like the dev cache out into its own folder and just like run yarn in there and like load all the dependencies, run it as its own sort of separate kind of project. Like that just sort of is a good way to sort of just check if it's a next error or if it's a Blitz error.
that's something we should add to some docs sometime for contributor docs. Okay, any last things to talk about?
One quick thought. This is like a relatively early stage, but I think as like the framework continues to kind of be changey in these early days, we're gonna want to set up some kind of code mod process to be able to migrate between versions. I think this is like, I think like we don't even yet know the full scope of changes that migrator will need to make, but I think having some way for us to invoke JS code shift or recast and be able to go into TypeScript files and update their contents via the AST as opposed to just like string appending, I think is going to become crucial. Like right now, the migrations we're making are pretty basic and we can probably just get away with like string concatenation and stuff, but I think that's going to become less and less true as we get farther into this. I don't think it's something we need to dig into right now, but I think it's something worth people kind of giving some thought to over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else?
I just want to say congrats to everyone here, and you, of course, Brandon, on the launch and everything. Yeah, just I know the community's buzzing, but it's just really cool to have seen this from when I joined to where it is now. Like, I don't know. I think it deserves to be celebrated. So congrats, you guys. Even if today was the last day of Blitz, like, I mean, this is cool. What's been done. Right?
Yeah.
Really
yeah.
is.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's wrap that up for today. Okay. Yeah. Last question is the time for all of you. Like, if we do this every other week at this same day and time, is that good, or should we adjust it?
Could we maybe move it up or down by a couple of hours? Because like this is 3:30 a.m. To 4:30 a.m. for me. So like 2 hours later or 2 hours earlier, be just fine, if possible. If not,
yeah, you're in the
fine.
you're in the what do you call it? I don't know. You're in the sacrifice time zone, I guess.
Yeah.
You in the US is like, because Rudy and I are in Australia right now, or roughly Australia time zone. So the US folks, how's the time and date for you?
This time works fine for me. I could go, I could go earlier up to like 3 or 4 hours, and probably later up to about 2 hours in terms of start time. So I'm relatively
Any
flexible.
of those fit.
Yeah, I don't know what conflicts that create in people's time zones though.
Yeah, I mean, I can be flexible. Like if we move it up 2 hours and it works for me, then it works for me. I don't know if it will or won't, but I can definitely try it.
I'd rather choose a time that works for you and not as good for Fran, because the other time, the off week.
Yeah,
works
I can
for
make
Fran.
it the other time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this was good for me. I got off work and still had time to make some burritos. So that's as successful as a timing as you can get for me.
Where are you at, Devin?
Not turned on my mic. I'm right behind Disney World, so I'm in Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
this
that-
works
is this
perfect.
time good for you?
9:30 is fine. Yeah,
Okay.
this works good for me.
DJ?
Hey, yeah, I'm in Boston, so 9:30. Thanks for letting me listen in also, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to help you get started contributing stuff if you want.
Yeah, I was checking out the memory file system issue. I just commented on that. I can try to work on that, but obviously first time looking at the code, so I might need a little
Sure.
assistance in some ways. But
Either reach out to Adams, or Rudy are probably the best help for that.
okay, awesome, thanks.
I tried that today and I failed really hard.
So
So
the time,
go for it, DJ.
Great to hear.
Which issue was that?
Using an in-memory file system for the tests instead of writing to the native file system.
Don't worry, I've banged my head against Jest many hours before. I'll do it again.
Okay.
We'll see.
Ping me if you want, and I'd be happy to help you with that too.
All right, yeah, definitely, will do. Thanks.
Yeah, me too.
Justin, how's this time for you?
It kind of varies. I'm Mountain Time, so this worked out really well. But whatever.
Okay, what if we moved it or back a half an hour? So instead of like 9:30, it's 9
Yeah,
or
that'd be even
forward
better.
or whatever, earlier. Is that fine for you, Rudy?
Yep, that's good for me. If it'd be harder if it's earlier than that though, because I have like stand-ups and stuff for my other project.
Okay. So let's I'll do that. I'll set up a we'll plan on doing this every other week at this time, or at a half an hour earlier than this call. And I will send out a calendar invite to all of you, so it's on your calendar.
Sweet.
Sounds great.